His story gave me permission to say, I have proof that we are souls who know more than we often know at this human level. His story is so astounding. I love sharing it at events because you get this repeated collective gasps from the audience when I share the evidence that came through after his death, that he knew he was going to be struck and killed by lightning, and where it would happen, when it would happen, and what would happen afterwards. The evidence is irrefutable.
Hey there, USG listener, my beloved soul family. This is Julie. I am your host. I'm so excited to be here. As always, I love getting to have these conversations and for you to be part of them. And thank you for your comments and your feedback. There is a party going on over at YouTube. Come check out this episode there and let me know your thoughts. Today is with truly a mentor, a teacher, a guide of mine, Suzanne Giesemann, who has been voted one of the top 100 most, she's the spiritual teacher, leading spiritual teacher in the world. She is a renowned medium. She is a messenger of hope. She is the author of the new book coming out called The Awakened Way, and many, many other books. And she is just a sweetheart and so genuine, so real. So if you have been wondering, like, where do our loved ones go when they transition, when they pass on? Where do they go? How do we know that we're not alone? How do we know that their soul is with us, right? How do you switch into that consciousness to tune in? Suzanne goes deep into these questions. How you and I, anybody can tap into the consciousness of oneness, the other realms where our loved ones are located, where the angelic realm is located, ascended masters, teachers, higher consciousness. So if you've been wondering, how do I do that? How do I feel more connected? How do I do this part human, part soul thing? This interview, this conversation is so for you. It is going to totally help you to raise your vibration, to connect to your USU, which is all about connecting to your higher self. And I just encourage you to listen with an open heart, open mind. Let us know your feedback. Suzanne is an incredible woman and speaker and spiritual guide and teacher. And the thing I love most is that this is accessible. This awakened way, this ascension path, this way of connecting into the other side, to your own higher self. It's accessible. It's here for you, my friend. So put on your seatbelt, enjoy, and let us know what you think. So happy you're here. And as always, from my heart to yours, so much love. Well, hello and welcome, Soul Family, to the USU podcast. This is such a gift. You don't even know what you are in store for. And Suzanne, I am so excited. I'm having this moment of just complete and utter gratitude. Your story, the work you do, it brings tears to my eyes. It is so healing and beautiful and uplifting. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your words, your experience, your strength. We have so much to talk about. Thank you for being here.
I know that gratitude brings us right away into a state of coherence. And I had one of those moments like you're experiencing now over the weekend where I was with my beautiful friend and assistant, Lynette, and I said, just stop. I need a minute. And I was just overcome with gratitude. So what a joy just to have moments like this, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just even I think of it as like basking, like getting in the sun, getting in a bath. It's like, I don't want to get out. Like we're gonna, and I feel like we're just gonna shine this for anyone listening or watching this. We set an intention beforehand for this conversation to really open hearts, to bless everybody. And you are somebody, I am obsessed with your story because I'm sure you get this. You, to me, are kind of this unexpected, brilliant medium. You didn't even know. I mean, I'll let you tell your story. but starting as this, high ranked left brain naval officer, commander, I hopefully am using the right words. I know you worked with the U.S. military chief of staff. You had a high ranking position. You were doing that for a long time. And your story of how you became a medium, and I'm just going to show it, the book that I've almost finished. This is your Messages of Hope book. I'm literally almost at the very, very, very end. I'm saving it actually for tonight after we finish this conversation. But and you have other books as well. It's mind. I use the word mind glowing because I don't want my mind blown. So I say it's mind.
Oh, I love that.
It's mind glowing. It really your story is incredible. So I know there's some who probably will know you, and then there's others who don't know you or your story. Can we just start to level set a little, to talk about, you came in through a very left brain door and unexpectedly found this beautiful work of being a medium. I'm going to let you share because you're so articulate.
All right. Well, I see now in retrospect that my career was part of a plan because my mediumship was so unexpected and has opened up so beautifully. I know that the spirit world said, let's pick somebody and give them a really left brain, unusual career that people pay attention to, so that when they become a spokesperson for mediumship and the spirit world and who we really are, people who are on the cusp of believing but don't quite know what to think will pay attention. And that's the great joy that I have, that people say, oh my God, not just a Navy commander, but a commanding officer and assistant to the head of the U.S. Navy, and then principal aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the head of the whole U.S. military. I flew on Air Force One with the president. I was in the last aircraft in U.S. airspace on 9/11. A lot of exciting things and some very tragic things happened in my career. I took part in Operation Just Cause, the invasion of Panama, if anybody remembers that. It was a very, very exciting career in the Navy. I've landed on aircraft carriers, somebody else flying, of course, and just had all kinds of exciting times. But never during that time did I ever imagine I would be shifting careers to connecting people with loved ones who have died. Ever. 9/11 started me asking the deeper life questions. It really, really rocked my world, so much so that I retired as soon as I could after 9/11, so that my husband and I could sail up into the sunset on our sailboat and live aboard and sail the world. And we got as far as the Mediterranean. We crossed the Atlantic Ocean with our little docks and Rudy, and I was really good at running away from life after 9/11. But life catches up to us because we learn from the painful parts. Unfortunately, most people know that. But our tragedy came in the form of the death of my stepdaughter, Susan. She was a sergeant in the Marines, crossing the flight line at work, and was struck and killed by lightning. We were sailing off the coast of Croatia at the time, and they couldn't find us. This was before cell phones. And did people have cell phones? Maybe the big ones in a bag at that time. It was 2006. And they found us, and we called home and couldn't run away from that. It really changed our lives. We stopped sailing, came home, and initially, Julie, the thing that changed my life was seeing Susan's body in the coffin. Because until that time, I'd never seen a spirit, never thought much about them. But looking at Susan's body, all I knew was, that's not her. That's just a vessel that housed the real Susan. And I just decided I'm going to find her. Didn't know how. Had heard about people called mediums. But until I could find somebody that I knew I could trust, I just began meditating every day. Susan, where are you? Susan, I want to connect with you. Susan, I know you have to be here. And that was my mission. And that practice changed everything for me. It actually took me 3 years until I heard from Susan. I didn't give up. But in the meantime, 3 years. In the meantime, I opened up to other abilities, to awareness of things I couldn't possibly know. Then I started attuning to other people's loved ones instead of just my Susan. I started to know things about people as psychic abilities opened up. And I actually started doing readings for other people before I connected with Susan. That was part of the plan too, as she later told me. She just kind of stood back so I would develop the ability and use it to help other people, not just connect with her.
This is such an amazing story to me, and illustrates, the idea that we think we have a plan, and then of course, there's guidance, and there's other things working around and for us, through us, as us, that goes in a different way. And just in reading this book to really get a sense, I will just say, for those listening, I've already been to one of your amazing medium trainings that you did in Savannah. I was the first to sign up. I'll just have for the second. Bought my flight that morning, the second day. I was like, I'm going. I've got to go to this. And I was so, one of the things I love about your experience, Suzanne, and what I believe you also teach, is that this is something that we can, I think you believe we can all tune into to spirit. And I know that your new book, I want to talk about that and doing that. I mean, that is so, to me, that feels true. And I love that it took a while. It didn't happen overnight. Your aim was to connect with Susan. And then all these gifts opened up with this aim to be able to really connect with her again, because you saw that she was not that vessel that did not have her soul in it anymore. She had moved on.
You know that.
Well, that's something. Yeah. I honestly, I just had this feeling of like, this feels literally magical. Like, how is this? The left brain is like, I don't understand how this is happening. And the other part is like, this is so affirming. This just affirms we're not alone. I think for many of us, whether or not, for me, thank goodness, it's really more like my grandparents and people I've looked up to that have passed on. But I just, that knowing, that connecting, I feel very close. I didn't even know my grandfather. Was named for him, but I've felt his energy around me my whole life. I mean, I can feel it as I talk about him. And to try to get to know him, it's just incredible. And you talk a lot about, getting evidence. I really love the integrity you bring to this work. I can't emphasize this enough. The integrity, the impeccability, the importance of evidence, and not just, I'm sensing a spirit that you are all. So maybe you can talk about that, because this is what I think is important.
So important, because some people need verifiable information that they know the medium couldn't possibly know. That's what evidence is, versus a message that anybody could make up. Because then the evidence validates the messages. If you trust that this medium is tuning into your loved one and discerning information they couldn't know, and you say, oh my God, that's them, then the message is when they say, I love you, I'm fine, I didn't suffer. Those really carry more weight. And not everybody needs the evidence, but boy, when Ty and I went to a medium, the only time we both had a reading together at the very beginning, if that medium had not given us evidence, I wouldn't be here today, because she knocked our socks off with that evidence, rocked our worldview, left no doubt Susan still exists. She got her long before I did. And once that happened, I just had to let the world know that mediumship is real. So there are charlatans out there. I can't give you percentages at all. But to me, that experience with a medium was so sacred, so healing, so life-changing, and propelled me on this spiritual journey, that to consider mediumship anything less than sacred in that vein is doing a disservice to anybody else who feels the same way.
That, what you just said, that is what I love, if I can just say so much about you and your work and the integrity of your work. And that experience, I did the level 1. I haven't done level 2 yet, but I can say I was blown away, blown away. It's interesting. My brain, I'm sure you see this, I I think probably the left, the logical thinking mind was, when it was in the way, it was very hard to connect in. And when I let it go, and you have that beautiful process, and I just said, like, put it on the shelf, let it go. It was wild. It was wild, Suzanne. And I am not even remotely, I'm just a baby at this, and to see these images, to feel, to sense, I mean, in both experiences, it was so sacred. I felt like, oh my God, what a gift that this person's, mother, grandma, like it almost felt like I get to, I don't know if you feel this, like, what a gift to connect with these souls that are
Oh, yes.
trusting us to be a
Yes.
messenger. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
We serve those in spirit. We serve our clients here, the person who sits with us. We get to be the intermediary, the medium, and pass along thank yous and ask for forgiveness and all those things that people don't get to say and want to still say. We can say it to our loved ones, but to get their response real time is really something.
I was amazed in reading I thought it was so funny. You were like, I am not a poet. And now I am channeling and bringing through. I mean, you've had, it looks like hundreds of poems. I think you called it the Council of Poets, or the
That's what they
poet.
called themselves at first, before my main guide Sanaya came in after a year of daily poetry. I didn't write poetry, and that's how they got me to know this is coming from higher consciousness, not my individual mind. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, I sometimes hear questions people ask. So I'm just like,
Oh, I love that. I do too. Yeah.
okay. I'm like, well, I'm hearing a question. We're going to go with it. You actually will understand. I don't usually say that out loud. And I just realized, oh, yep.
I get
Doesn't
it.
seem weird. Well, I'm hearing, what does it feel like? What happens in your body, temple, in your experience? Let's talk about the Council of Poets, or when you start to feel emerging with spirit. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like physiologically and just in your energy?
Sure. Well, I've already entered into an expanded state of consciousness, and I do that with the breathing technique that I teach that just drops you into what's called an alpha brainwave state. So right away, we're honoring the left side of our brain by acknowledging the processes that take place. Then I have several practices to just shut out the outer world and all its distractions, and I have trained myself to only pay attention to what is arising in awareness, because I was looking for Susan. So you just sit and watch your thoughts, and you notice what experiences you're having. So anything that was my normal, oh, I got to get to my to-do list, that kind of thought, you just notice it. Oh, there we go again. Let that flow through. So I had been doing that for probably a year, and I met with a woman who said, you're going to have some very interesting experiences in meditation this week. And I said, what do you mean? She said, your guides are going to have a message for you. Have a pen and paper ready. So, okay. So I did, and I had some questions on my mind. And as I'm looking for Susan, because that was my sole purpose, double meaning with that one, I'm just quiet and I'm listening and I'm watching, just noticing what arises. And suddenly this voice gives me an answer. Now, I had heard little bits and pieces, and I thought, was that my mind? Did I make that up? But I wrote it down. Then some beautiful flowery phrase came in. I wrote that down, thought I was making it up, but I noticed it also answered another question that I had. And so suddenly I get a line, then another line, then another line, and it just started flowing. I'm not sure, I can't remember, it was so long ago, if I felt a presence, but I was just flooded with thoughts, insights, and I wrote them verbatim and suddenly realized, oh my God, these are rhyming and they contain a message. It's coherent. And it was nonstop rhyming, perfect cadence. And I flipped the page, and now I'm crying as the words are coming through, because I recognized that the spirit knew I would never believe I wasn't making up what was coming through unless they gave it to me in a form that I couldn't do. And I always not enjoyed poetry too much. And so they chose that. And it was, I have that poem to this day. I call it poem number 1. And it actually talked about my path and how this path would include shouting the messages of spirit from the rooftops and carrying their words. And that has been my mission ever since.
we'll come back to this later with how that led to Sanaya. We'll pick up that thread in a little bit if that's okay, because I have questions. This shouting it from the rooftops, this almost like really this purpose that you didn't even know, that in a way what I'm almost getting is Susan's gift. I don't know if that makes sense. It feels like the gift that Susan gave you by transitioning.
Oh, definitely. There's no doubt about it. That was all part of a plan.
Yeah.
People who have a loved one who passed, they start to see that we're
Yeah.
all interconnected, and we see that death is a tragedy for those still here, but those across the veil, they're welcomed home and they're celebrating. They're still with us, and she's been just such a part of this journey. Let me just show everybody that's
Oh
Susan.
yeah, let's see that. Oh, I've been like, I want to see her picture. I love that you have that. For those that are, that can get into the left brain, that can get into doubt, the evidence piece. And you did a lovely example. I mean, you give so many examples in this book that
Oh, but Julie, when I went back and looked at that book recently, the examples are so elementary. I mean, they may be good to somebody who's new at mediumship
yeah,
reading this, and they're wonderful, but
yeah,
the readings these days have layers of meaning, and it's beautiful to see how far we can come.
yeah,
I love to make the point that I am not the world's best medium. I'm very pleased with my connection now, and I trust it implicitly. But there are others whose main calling is to do reading after reading after reading, and they
yeah,
are just these really outstanding mediums. Mine is to help people with the sessions, heal them with the sessions, and then use the amazing evidence in my teaching and in my writing. That's how I really
yeah.
use this as a gift. Yeah.
Have you noticed that to be receptive, is there something? I mean, you said you meditated every day. So to me, that's training the mind. I don't know, in terms of caring for the body temple, are there certain things or processes you think are really crucial to elevating
Yes.
that connection? Can we talk about that?
Yes. Raising the quality of your consciousness is what I call it. And I know we're going to talk about this later, but I have a new book that's out called The Awakened Way, making the shift to a divinely guided life. And I make the point in there that, of course, we're not only human, we're all souls, and we need to learn to make that shift to soul awareness and align all of our thoughts and actions as much as possible with what the soul would do, which the soul is always aware that we're all connected and come from a place of love. But we humans are walking around having interacted with other wounded people our whole lives. We're raised by wounded people. We're all wounded because we don't understand that we're souls, and we learn by trial and error. And so one of the biggest tasks is to become the clearest possible instrument for this consciousness to flow through us, because we need to give our energy to the spirit world to use to amplify the connection. So if we're kind of negative or not trusting the process, or we're gunked up with our own stuff, then we're not going to be this clear antenna. So once I came to understand that, I can honestly say that almost every waking moment of my day, I pay attention to, am I making the best choices, being the most loving person I can, radiating the highest possible vibration? Does it mean I'm a saint? Not at all. Does it mean that the F-bombs don't jump out of my mouth at appropriate times? Yes, they do. But the thing is, I catch myself when I do that. And then I go inside and say, what caused that? Is that something that I need to clear out? Because I was a flute player for years. And, after you play your flute for a while, you have to clean it out because it gets gunked up inside. Well, we are this flute, like Hafiz, the 13th century poet, said. I am a flute through which this unity consciousness flows. And this is the most beautiful imagery. And we can imagine the 7 energy centers, the chakras are the holes in the flute. And they get blocked up. moment by moment during the day. So if we notice what's gunking ourselves up, including the really big globs that need to be cleared out, we're just going to become these clear instruments, which becomes the side benefit of being a medium, in that we become more loving naturally. We find peace and happiness naturally because we're working on ourselves in order to serve others. It's just beautiful.
That's so beautifully said. I think I can only speak for myself. I made many friends at the training, and I think that's for me something that I'm gravitated towards, is that I just felt that. And with you, I know we talked about, certain breathing and releasing, and we even just started the conversation with gratitude, lifting your energy with gratitude. I think about, I love that you said this is for everyone. So anyone listening, first of all, can get all of your books, especially the new book, your newest book, The Awaken Way, where I want to talk about that with you. But I love this leaning into being of radiating greater love. To me, I want to surround myself with people and something that is doing that all the time.
And that's what people notice when I do events. Like we did a cruise to Alaska. We have another one to the Mediterranean this September and then beyond. They turn and they say, your community is so loving. In that class you were in, two friends of ours from our community here, literally our neighborhood here, came because they were interested. What is it you teach? And the first thing they noticed was, gosh, it's like everybody already knows each other, even though they
Yeah.
didn't, because we just wrap ourselves in this energy of connection and love, and it's contagious.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave. I was like, this feels amazing. When do we do this again? You created that, but there is that, I think it draws that in for sure. Absolutely. With the Awakened Way, can you talk a little bit about the impetus to write this, what that means, and what kind of I know that both human and a soul. I'm going to let you kind of share a little bit about
Sure.
what this book really is about, who it's for. You're such a beautiful writer, and I'm so excited because I literally like devour whatever I've read of yours. So this is, I know, going to be an amazing book. I know
And
that.
that's another gift from spirit. I remember the first book I wrote about metaphysics was called The Priest and the Medium, about a medium and game. And before I even knew I was going to be a medium, and my mother looked at me and she said, how did you write this? And I said, Mom, it just flowed. It was divinely guided. And I look back at the parts of this book, The Awaken Way, and it is. It's like channeling. It's not channeled writing, but it's so clearly a cooperative effort because the words carry this energy that truly is divine. It's written for three groups, really. It's those who are grieving the passing of a loved one, so deeply grieving. How about those who are despairing about anything in their life now, and maybe just one off the planet, and just don't know what to do to feel better? And then those who've been on the spiritual path for a while and just keep seeking and doesn't feel like they're getting there and not even quite sure what they want. So it's not just for people who are depressed. It's for people that are feeling that nudge to they know there's something more. And the awakened way is this whole path of a way of living that came to me after my interactions with a young man across the veil named Wolf. Have you read my book, Wolf's Message?
That's so funny. I forget who the woman that your friend was in the back with the books, but I was like, which she's like, that's your next book. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I read
Oh,
a lot of your stuff, but
you might want to have me back on the show after you read that one.
okay, we'll do round two. I already see like two or three of these. I'm like, Suzanne, you
Buckle
got to
your
come back.
seatbelt for that one. But Wolf is a young man who was struck and killed by lightning like my stepdaughter.
Oh,
Yeah.
no way.
Yes. And his story gave me permission to say, I have proof that we are souls who know more than we often know at this human level. His story is so astounding. I love sharing it at events because you get this repeated collective gasps from the audience when I share the evidence that came through after his death, that he knew he was going to be struck and killed by lightning, and where it would happen, when it would happen, and what would happen afterwards. The evidence is irrefutable. But that's just part of the story. The rest of it is how he came to me after he passed and shared all these messages, but kind of cryptic. I had to put all the breadcrumbs together, connect all the dots. And in the end, it was a message for all of humanity about how we're out of balance as a species. And his teaching, I put it into my words, into three main principles, and that became this awakened way. Everything I teach now, anybody that interviews me, if they ask me a question, I ask my guides, but it always comes back to the main principles of living the awakened way. So I'll share those with you, okay? Oh, it's so simple. Number one, you come to know we are not only human, and we suffer when we don't realize that. So if we're not only human, who are we? We are also souls, but as you learn in the book, The Awakened Way, souls are all expressions of one light of consciousness. So I really dive into that in the book. The first half of the book is the foundational understanding of who we are, why connection with higher consciousness is possible at all. But I've really honed the ability to explain it in very simple terms that we can all understand. And I love to use analogies, and I include examples from the greater reality that I call no other explanation moments, really amazing stories like Wolf's in that book. The second principle, besides we are not only human, is we are part of one big web of consciousness. And you see that more and more when you align with your true nature as the soul, the light of consciousness. You start to see synchronicities left and right. Your life just flows. You stop hitting walls all the time. You find greater peace because you realize we're not alone. We're always connected. So that understanding that we're part of one big web, not just here with each other, but across dimensions, is a beautiful awakening. And then the third principle is that the healing force, the creative force of the universe is love. Not human kind of love that comes and goes, but this lack of separation. That's my definition of love. This total awareness that everything is connected. That will heal anything. There is nothing that love can't heal. Now, as far as wars and people doing nasty things, love would heal that, but it's just going to take a long time and a lot of people waking up, which is why I'm so proud to have this book out there, because it'll help.
Wow. Oh, I'm like need a moment because it's so powerful what you're saying. And I think you said who this is for. I think a lot of those in the despairing category or feeling lost.
Could I just interject a second here?
Yes.
A friend of mine reached out and she said, Suzanne, I don't know what to do about my daughter. She wants to take her own life.
Mm.
And I said, if only my book were out right now, because there's not one little thing you could say at any instant. But if people understood the very simple concepts in this book, and then the whole second half is, I should count them. I know there are at least 26 practical techniques and tools in the whole second part of the book that we can all use to make the connection ourselves with our higher self and with higher consciousness. If people had this foundational information and were using the tools, we would want to stick around a lot longer.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the tools. Before I do, I have a question. It's actually a question I think I asked you in the training, which was really eye-opening. You know, there's a lot of times you people try to tap into the archangels, the angelic realm, you know, the idea of creating a council or people that have passed on or master teachers. And I think I had asked you because I've been feeling this connection with one specific person. I was like, I feel him with me. Is that possible? And, you know, that was shocking. It just was confirming. I trust you implicitly. And I'm like, okay, well, that is. And it's interesting as you were speaking, what came to mind was, because I know you've, this book, I believe, is with Hay House, which we love.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like, do you ever feel Louise Hay? I loved her. When you're writing this and then the question, can we tap into? I talked about Wayne Dyer, or could it
Well,
be?
I haven't felt Louise, even though I've had a conversation with her in the past. But definitely Wayne Dyer helped shepherd this book along. I gave Wayne Dyer a reading years ago, and we would exchange a few emails, and he's written the endorsement to two of my books. And after he passed, he came to me. I felt him and recognized him immediately. And I said, you need to give me some evidence that this is you because I'm going to share this with people. Let me know. And he told me how he passed because I didn't know at that point. He showed me where he was when he passed, and I didn't know that. But it was just to, validate what I already knew in my heart. I could hear his voice. And so when I sent this manuscript off to Hay House, I said, Wayne Dyer, I would love your help with this if it's meant to be. And the next day, having never watched a Wayne Dyer video on YouTube, I'm going downstairs to post my daily message from Spirit for my Awaken Way app. And I go and pick up my phone, and up pops, I hadn't even opened YouTube, a YouTube video from Wayne Dyer, his picture right on the front saying, you can manifest your dreams. And this thing sailed through Hay House. It was just beautiful. So thank you, Wayne.
That is so awesome.
But we can all learn to tap into famous people if it serves the greater good, not if it serves the ego, right?
That's a very important distinction that I think exactly coming from that place of service and the higher good. I know that's a question, and whether it's I love Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay. I feel them for some reason all the time. It might be Archangel Michael. It could be it could be Einstein. It could be any Nelson Mandela. It could be
I've
any.
connected with Michael and Einstein with evidence. It's just awesome.
Wow. Going to the tools, because now I'm hearing people like, all right, I know you said 26. We won't do all 26, but are there some tools? Because I'm hearing, all right, where do I start? How do I do this? How do I connect in? And this is one of the reasons I chose to actually study with you, Suzanne. I was looking at different programs out there, and you had this, I think I don't have it verbatim, but it was like, everybody can connect in with spirit. You made this statement, and I was like, that to me is unity consciousness. That is, we are all connected. And
that's why we can. Yeah.
I just immediately, it was, this is not an elite thing. This is like any human being that wants to, and you really live that and breathe that. I just have to say that because I think it's important. Anyone listening, watching right now, if you're called to this, you can do this. You can do this. And I recommend anything you teach, but especially with this book, The Awaken Way, and for those that are really struggling on the planet, what are some of the tools you would, that we could share?
Yeah, it's beautiful because, people think, oh, now I'm going to have to start meditating an hour a day, and you don't. So many of the tools are already on my website. Not many, several. The most important ones are on the gifts page of my website. I give them away liberally. They're on YouTube. The most important two being my 7-step Bless Me method, connecting with higher consciousness, 7 steps. And then the No Excuses to Meditation 3-minute practice called the Sip of the Divine. Those are foundational. We have to learn to slow down the mind. We can't ever stop it completely. Create space and start noticing, watching what arises. So those two are fundamental. So many others, though, about we begin with questioning reality instead of just accepting what people have told us about the world and about God and about who we are. So I show specific practices that get you thinking outside the box, and you will start to receive insights, because I also show you don't just wonder. Quiet your mind, move to your heart, and ask the question of your higher self and higher guides. And I explain what the higher self is. I have simple practices like leaving little reminders all around you, like these little cherub statues that are right in front of me right now to remind me, have I checked in with guides and angels who are around me? My gosh, my desk is covered with reminders to me that keep me remembering I'm not only human. So I have this thing, like I talk about what I call the soul human dial, like a little gas gauge with the lever that goes to either side. Have you heard me teach this one yet?
I think so. And I was laughing because I have so many things, and I have this stone
Oh,
right here,
good one.
and
We all
your coin is in the other room. Yep.
yeah. So I won't get into all the practices now, but it's divided into 6 sections in the latter part of the book about talking with higher consciousness, energetic uh, maintenance, energetic hygiene, to how to clear out the gunk. And then within each of those 6 sessions are 4 to 5 practices each. So the whole book can be read straight through, or you read a little bit of the foundations from part 1 and then try a few practices. It's really made for both left brain and right brain people.
So beautiful. I'm hearing, can you talk about the gauge? This is literally, I'm hearing someone say, but no, I don't know it. So can
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. Well, we are both human and spirit. So H stands for human and S, the soul aspect of us. Everything is spirit. The soul is the formless aspect of spirit. The human is the informed, the body aspect of spirit. So with awareness, we can notice at any time which aspect of ourselves we are showing to the world. And the example that I give is driving my big RV down the highway, great big bus with a car behind me, really tense, 2 hands on the wheel, and this guy cuts me off. And that was a moment when I responded very appropriately in human mode. I kind of made a little gesture. And my husband, who's used to me being Miss Spiritual these days, looks over at me and goes, yes, she's human, And I thought at that moment, well, I had that dial completely over to the H side at that moment. And it might have been appropriate, but it doesn't feel good after a while. So you just dial it back. And the goal is to integrate the two, to be somewhere in the center. When you go into meditation, S is way dialed up here. We can't keep it pegged to either side. We're flowing, dynamic spirit beings. But to become aware of it and hold a tool like that in your mind's eye, you can laugh at yourself. You become more of the observer of your human side and realize I'm not only human because something is observing it. What is observing it? So these practices all fit into each other in a beautiful way. And that's why the subtitle is Making the Shift to a Divinely Guided Life. It's a conscious choice to say, oh, I'm dialed up to the human side right now. It doesn't feel too good. Not that all human things are bad, but I'm showing my less than divine nature right here. And then you just shift just to remind ourselves, I'm also a soul. I came here to be the presence of love. How am I doing at that? I think I'll try some of these other practices. Yeah.
One of the things I love what you're saying, I think there's a fallacy, especially those that are in that awakening stage or coming to want to be more in that level of higher consciousness. And I've had this myself. So I'll just say this ideal, like, oh, at some point I'll be all the way over by the S all the time. And it's like, no, we're human. I mean, I need that reminder. Like I love how it feels to be connected to spirit. I love how that feels. And, we live in that both and, I mean, in this world. And I guess the question would be with spirit, when you tune in, because I guess the human part is not there. Can you give a sense? I'm trying to get my question so it's clear. I don't know what it looks like and feels like, and what's the essence for the soul you're connecting with. Do you get a sense of what this other realm or dimension is like? Because I think as human, we are meant to be H2. We're H and S, which I love that. We're not all S, not yet.
Yeah. Well, it's a spectrum. And so it can't say it's exactly like this when we're in soul awareness. And it goes from fully embodied human all the way up to what some people call the void. That's, yes, empty, but so completely full at the same time. This is the I am state. Is that the soul? That's beyond the soul. It's all, if it's a spectrum of consciousness, human consciousness is very limited and restricted, this flow of the light. And then the soul is more spacious, more expanded expression of the light. The whole thing is the light, but ultimately there's nothing but the light. And I absolutely get a sense of that because I've sat as that day after day after day, year after year after year. And we get to touch it for the briefest of moments, but we all experience it in these, as we blink on and off, is like we're this movie that's flipping past in still shots, and in between all those stills, we are the light. It's something that we all can experience, and that's what the tools are aimed at giving to people.
So, so powerful. Is there a difference for you with when you call forth, whether it's Susan or someone's loved one, or, Wayne or a master teacher, versus what was the poet, the collective, the poet council, I'm saying it wrong, council of poets, to Sanaya, which I'd love to talk about if you're open to it. Like, is there a difference in?
Yes.
Okay.
Feel energy.
Yeah.
After a year of receiving those daily poems, we got to 369, and they were really getting a little, not boring, but repetitive. These poems all rhymed. So, there are only so many words that rhyme with love and life and strife. And, but the poets were so clever, and people were starting to pay attention to these. I was publishing them. And then the poems stopped for a day or two. And I was actually bereft. It was like a connection. What happened here? And then I believe it was right on my birthday in 2010. All of a sudden, this presence merged with me in awareness. It was so powerful, but it felt both masculine and feminine. And I said, "Who are you?" And they said, "Oh, I got goosebumps. I bet I picked up yours." They said, "We are a collective consciousness of your guides. You will call us Sanaya, and you will write and write and write as Sanaya." And they had some more guidance for me at the time, but I'm sure that some of them were the original Council of Poets, but the poetry stopped then. We get occasional poems to this day, but from that date in 2010, I have gotten a daily message from them. And we created the Awakened Way app a year or two ago. We have 40,000 people have downloaded that free app because the messages are so beautiful, so practical, and I get them every morning in meditation. I feel Sanaya just step in. I'm used to that power now. It doesn't bowl me over, but it was so distinctly higher than the loved ones I tune into in my readings, in answer to your original question. Wolf had a higher vibration than most people's normal family members. His had me stuttering and shaking. I know he was a higher being. There's a connection with him and Archangel Michael. And that's come through in channeling. But yes, each of us carries a different vibration, and that's why we divide the astral realm, those who have just passed, from the spirit guides and angels and archangels, ascended masters. You can feel the difference when you connect with someone from each of those realms.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. I can feel what I have no words for it, but, and I'm just tapping in like, wow. And I think when you share through your books, through your words, I was going to say, we'll have all of your information in the description and the show notes, because I want people to not only just get the book, The Awaken Way, but also your app. I mean, that's so beautiful. You get those every single day.
There are thousands, literally. I think that we're probably up to 6,000 messages in that app. That's what's so cool, because we have this little oracle button. I get emails all the time from people who I instruct you, stop, go to your heart, ask a question, push the button, and see if the message that comes up, see how it speaks to you. So many times it'll come up with a loved one who has passed birthday or the exact answer to what they needed. It's really fun to use it that way.
So cool. It's like, we can't even comprehend the divine intelligence of this collective consciousness, because I just can feel there's a knowingness of anyone who uses it that's going to be speaking to them. It's going to speak to you. Yeah.
And all that is part of the awakened way of living. You just start to notice these connections and find joy in these moments and share it with others. And as we each turn up our light, we really make a difference. People around us, their light starts to turn up.
It's beautiful. My question, and it can be yes, it could be no, it could be maybe yes, is if you would feel comfortable bringing in Sanaya for just a
I've been
little.
tuning in the whole time because we talked about that beforehand, and I have to tell you, with integrity, I just got back yesterday from flying to Sedona, 5-day conference. In the last 8 days, I've done 8 major events to thousands of people, and I am drained. And
Oh,
I want to honor my body and Sanaya by just recharging. But there
beautiful,
are plenty of channeled sessions that I've done online.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that is such a great model for all of us that you tune in and it's not always a yes. I love that, Suzanne, that it's like my battery needs to be recharged. It is, I really appreciate and honor that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think even just, I will say, even talking about you bringing in this energy, I mean, people are going to, I can feel it. I
Oh,
can
I'm running
feel.
it now, and that's why it's just like, do we even want to amp this up a little more? Not today. They're
Right.
saying not today, not today.
Yeah, because I'm hot. I got to be honest, when you start talking about it, I'm like, wow, I'm really, and it's not, I don't think it's hormones. I'm really literally feeling energy of my gosh.
But I will tell you that I even had a practice where when I went through the period of hot flashes, thank God I don't get them anymore, but I would even use the hot flash as an opportunity to, instead of complain, pause and say, I'm going to tune into my guides right now. So
Oh,
several times a
wow.
day, I was making a connection with spirit by turning that, like making lemonade out of lemons, right?
It's really cool. I've never heard that. Then that's a new way to reframe hot flashes. Another reason to learn these tools because you can reframe hot
Well,
flashes.
even a hot flash is a higher energy surging through your body, and consciousness is this energy, and our bodies are conduits for actual light energy. And
Mm,
it took me years to adjust to Sanaya's energy. When I first started speaking their words aloud, which is
yeah,
the channeling you're talking about, came out very stilted. And now sometimes I can barely talk fast enough to get their words out. And it's been a process of like going to the gym. The
yeah,
more you exercise the spirit, in this case, the higher energy the body can handle.
yeah. When you did this, when we had the experience with you and the training, it's interesting because I noticed you were talking about your lip twitches. Like there's something that shifts physiologically, and I could hear a difference in your voice. I could see a difference in your face. I mean, it was beautiful. It's great. It's like you could, but I could see what something is
It still
happening.
makes me feel awkward when I do it, but yeah, the lip twitches on its own here. I can't even do it, which is for me very validating that it
Yeah,
means we're here, we're with you, we got this.
yeah, beautiful. I have another question about loved ones that have passed on that's just coming up if that's okay to ask. And
Always.
when, you know, to really get cuz many of us may not be able to yet see or feel or sense where do you sense that our loved ones are around us? Like Susan, for example, I'm assuming, you tune into her more. I know with the book, when she came to you and you were like, I'm going to ask you for 3 pieces of evidence before you told your husband. Do you feel that, like, I don't know if there's where are they hanging out? Where are they
Okay,
around
that's
us?
easy. That's easy. Using analogies again. How many TV channels are available on the TV right now? Hundreds, right? And where are those signals? They're all right here, but they're all different channels. So
Yeah.
this human reality is one channel, and the astral realm is another channel, and they're not segregated. It's all energy, information, consciousness. So it's all here, just a different bandwidth of frequency. And this brain filters it out. It's perfectly designed so that we tune in with our physical senses
Yeah.
to this human in a body on planet Earth reality. But with training, you learn to bypass some of the brain's filters. Psychedelics do that, I'm told. I don't know, and
Yeah.
I don't want to know. But they bypass the filters, and now all of a sudden, there's bleed through from these other channels.
Yeah.
And you can pick up information and energy, but it's not just info energy, it's people, because they're interacting with us. They're
Yeah.
right here, Julie. They don't have to come from somewhere far away. There is only consciousness, and consciousness is always here. It's a matter of where we place our focus, what our intention is, how open our belief is, and if we have trained our brain to
Mm.
bypass the filters. And that's what I do. I teach people how to bypass the filters, how
Yeah.
to bypass your belief systems by giving you the evidence, and then specific steps for connecting.
Yeah.
It works.
Beautiful. I'm almost getting the image of it's like a remote control, like the
Oh, yeah.
brain. Yeah. Yeah. It's
I use
just,
that image a lot. I have it on a slide because it's such a great imagery. One of the main tools is that shift, making the shift to a divinely guided life is the subtitle of the Awaken Way. Well, if I were to connect with my guides, and they've been helping me and giving answers right now, but I can tell I'm not as connected as normal. I feel, darn, where are you guys? And they're right here, but it's me who's tired.
yeah.
So when we're on top of our game, you literally say shift, and that moves you. That moves awareness. It's a command using your intention, and then
Yeah.
that changes the channel.
We're so powerful. And that's one of the things I know you teach and talk about, which is so important. Before it, I want to honor you and your energy and to recharge. And I am like, we've got to, hopefully you'll come back to talk about Wolf. And I know you have more books. Like I could talk to you all day, Suzanne.
I
So
love talking about these topics because we don't talk about them enough, and they're life changing, and we need this for our evolution.
yeah, I 100% support that, agree. I think it is, honestly, it is so helpful, you coming from such a left brain world. I tend to attract I have a feeling a lot of left brainers that are
Good.
opening up, so that
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, my friends, because I am you. We are you, and you are that. I'm going to just, what I end with, I call them heart flares, but I feel like for you, it should be like an intuitive flare, which I guess in the heart is there too. But is there anything that either I didn't ask you, or that is just coming through you, that you'd like to share, that would be a message, for our beautiful community, for
Well,
anyone
what comes
listening?
to me, I must be tuned in because see, notice how it don't just, I love to model not just talking off the top of your head. You pause, you go to the heart and you ask
Yeah.
and you wait. And when you've trained yourself through daily meditation, then you notice what pops up. So what I got was that this external world is so distracting, and we are all motivated to be connected and to tune in, but we must have a regular practice that tunes out this outer world. And my sip of the divine is so simple. My husband this morning, he said, I just had the honor of contributing a chapter to a new book by Irvin Laszlo, who's a wonderful pioneer in consciousness, who's now 91. He's been doing this for decades, but I've read his books for years about consciousness. And I just got to contribute a chapter along with Deepak Chopra, wrote the intro. So it's very exciting. But I asked Ty to proofread the chapter. And when he gave it back to me, he said, I think I may need to start doing that sip of the divine. And it's like, yes, my destroyer captain husband, that will change lives. But it's 3 minutes a day, and it takes a little discipline. But
Yeah.
unlike saying, I need you to meditate half an hour a day, there are no excuses for not doing that for 3 minutes. There aren't any. When you realize how it will change your life and you want to change your life, then you just say, all right, I can make coffee for 3 minutes. I guess I can sit down for 3 minutes and just watch the thoughts that arise. Watch the images that arise. Focus on how the brain works and notice the pauses and ask a question. What do I need to know right now? So it's
Mm.
not just this boring watching. That's the training and focus process. So that when you ask the question, now the answer can come through and you notice it. And that becomes fun. Who wouldn't want to do that every day? Asking your genie in a bottle, your higher self, your guides, a question like that. Then you realize how guided we are, and then the journey takes off. So that was a
Mm.
long-winded answer, but the point I wanted to make was we have to make some shift in our behavior if you want things to change for you. It needs to become your personal experience, not just something you read in a book.
Yeah. And I just want to say, amen. So it is, like, absolutely. And the sip of the divine, you're talking 3 minutes,
Yeah.
3 minutes, which I started with 60 seconds 10 years ago. I'm not kidding. And now it is long. I do 20 to 30. I do, because that is what I just feel good. I
I
feel
feel
good.
so good.
Yeah.
It feels so good. Yeah.
It's like brushing my teeth.
Because we're tapping into the part of us that never changes, that is totally connected to everything. You start to realize that experience. And what did we say total connection is called? Love.
Oh, there you go. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And you feel it. I mean, but the 3 minutes like that, that's so doable. And I think this is going to be very helpful, because I can feel and sense the people that are like, okay, I could do 3 minutes. I could do 3 minutes.
Yep.
And
So get the book, The Awaken Way. It's explained very detailed in detail in the book, but also the YouTube video, No More Meditation Excuses. That talks about the sip of the divine. The
amazing. And
SIP stands for sit in peace, if I didn't say that earlier.
I love it. I was like, okay, you inhale, like sip in the device, which makes
Well, it's
sense.
more like, we all do spend 3 minutes making our coffee or our tea or our smoothie every morning.
Yeah.
And we take a
Yeah.
sip of that,
Right here.
but if you can spend the time doing that, you can dedicate to your soul to honor it.
There you go. And I'll make sure we link all that too, so that people can find it easily.
Good.
Suzanne, I want to honor you and your energy in restoring, and just want to say from my heart to yours, thank you. You've become such a teacher and mentor and guide for me, and such a way shower. A way shower.
That's a term that came up in that chapter, that we all can be way showers. Julie, you're a beautiful light, and I know everybody
Yeah.
feels it. And I love talking to people who absolutely get this already. And even though we may think we've gotten it, we are all works in progress. Progress. We're all
All
still
of it.
learning, and I love peeling back the layers of this onion to get at the core. I still find stuff that needs some work and some polishing, and that's okay. That's fun.
Mm. We're H&S, human and spirit. There you go. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope to bring you back another time. I feel like there's all these stories and things, but for today, thank you. This is just so excited about this book. This really feels important. It feels like we need your book, this book right now. And
Well, the folks at Hay House, several people, and one of the reviewers said, this feels like a classic. Wow.
it does. I saw it. I'm like, we must talk about this. We must. And it's a blessing, the work you're doing. Thank you for being here, for blessing everyone with your experience, your heart, your integrity, your honoring this sacred practice of what we're talking about. I'm honored, and thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
My friend, I'm so grateful and honored to be here with you on your journey and being your U.S. you. Thank you for watching this episode, for being part of this incredible community and this mission to really step into your light, to your highest purpose. I believe that as we all do that, we all can really be our best selves and uplift consciousness and in humanity. So thank you. I also wanted to say that if you are looking for greater support right now, maybe you're having a health concern, or you're looking to really step into that next version, best version of yourself, please come connect with me, whether it's for more resources or coaching or guidance. I would love to support you in any way that I can. Just go to juliereisler.com. You can book a powerful one-on-one breakthrough session there. You can connect with me. I would love to meet you. I'd love to hear how I can be on this journey with you. And before I forget, if you'd like a little more of this good vibe tribe and would like to digest these episodes with a high vibe community, just go to Facebook and look up the U.S. You podcast community. You'll find us there. Love always. And thank you so much for taking the time and energy to truly stepping into your authenticity and being your you.